The generator's low growl stitched the compound into a single hum, and Tebello loved the way it obeyed him. "My guys are coming by 8, he had said that afternoon, tossing his car keys on the center table like a king dropping a scepter. "Make pepper soup, and fry chin-chin. Not that soft one, Amara. The crunchy one." Amara Bello measured salt with fingers that remembered hems and waistlines. The tailor's tape around her neck felt like a quiet shield. She said, "Yes," because no was a word Tay treated like an insult. By 7:30 the sitting room smelled of goat pepper soup, suya smoke from the gate, and men's perfume. Tay turned up the volume on the match, Chelsea versus Arsenal, then lowered it again, practicing power the way other men practice jokes. He wore a crisp Ankara shirt, gold chain winking at his throat. The belt around his waist was black, thick, new. He had bought it last week, saying, "A man needs good leather." Colonel Adeyemi arrived first, grinning, arms wide. "Chairman, you know say Friday now for warriors." His laugh filled the room before his body settled into the best seat. Say, Fat Eye, and 2 others followed with cartons of beer and plastic cups. Someone brought a Bluetooth speaker. Someone else lit mosquito coils. Amara moved through them with a tray. "Good evening," she said. Colonel winked. Say said, "See wife material." Tay did not smile at her greeting. He saved his smiles for the men. They ate. They argued. They cheered when Arsenal scored and booed when Chelsea equalized. Tay shouted at the referee and slapped Colonel's shoulder. "You know Sabi ball," he said, laughing louder than the joke deserved. When Amara's phone buzzed, she silenced it without looking. Mama Ife's name could wait. Tay watched her. He liked that she was beautiful in a quiet way, the kind that made other men speak carefully around him. He also liked that she rarely met his eyes in public. To him, that was respect. To her, it was survival. During halftime, the men called for more pepper soup. Amara returned to the kitchen, her hand steady though the air was hot and oil-scented. She ladled broth, counted pieces of meat, wiped the rim of bowls. The generator hiccuped like a sewing machine fighting thick fabric. A television whoop rose. Someone had won a bet. She heard Tay's voice, bright and sharp. "Amara." She carried the first tray. Colonel stretched his legs into her path, and then withdrew them, a game to see if she would stumble. She did not. "Thank you," he said, too close. Tay's eyes flicked from her to Colonel and back. Pride warred with something darker. "Another round," Tay said, "and bring the coldest bottles. You hear?" "Yes," she said again, and returned to the kitchen. She set the next tray down, fingers aching, heart steadying against her ribs, slowly there. The night grew thicker. Laughter stacked upon laughter. A neighbor shouted about the noise, and the men shouted back. When the second half began, Tay stood, arms wide like a coach. "Today, enjoyment," he declared. He looked at Amara, the way a man looks at a switch he might flip. She felt it and kept her face smooth as pressed cotton. Somewhere beyond the wall, a baby cried and stopped. Inside, Tay lifted his cup. "To good friends," he said, "and to wives that know their place." The men roared their approval. Amara lowered her eyes and stepped back into the kitchen, the applause following her like heat. By the time bottle caps formed a small mountain on the center table, the jokes had turned mean. Colonel wiped pepper soup from his beard and said, "Tay, you don soft. Marriage don mellow you." Laughter rose like heat. Amara walked in with a basin of ice and clean cups. She kept her eyes on the table, counted empties, began to arrange things with quiet precision. "See, is she gentle?" Colonel said. "But me, I know sure say she day fear you like before." Tay's smile thinned. "Colonel, a beg." "Nah small talk," Colonel insisted. "Look am, she never even greet properly. You fit control him so." Amara's fingers paused. Control, fear, men's words that never meant safety. She straightened, still not meeting Tay's eyes. "Any other thing?" she asked steady. "See," Colonel crowed. "She day run the house." Tay leaned forward. Amara served drinks now. His tone was light, but there was a blade in it. She distributed ice and beer. "Anything else?" she asked again. Colonel winked. "Tell them to kneel and thank committee of friends." Laughter crashed through the room. "Make un arrest," Tay said, smiling for the audience. "Wife, bring small chops." "In the oven," she said. Cunnel slapped the table. "Bedtime. 10,000 says you no fit make and do one thing she no like." Pride beat in Tay's chest. He had built a story about himself. It required performance. "Which thing?" he asked. Cunnel leaned in, eyes bright. "Make she kneel and say, 'I day under your control.'" "Simple." Silence hummed. Amara set the opener down and glanced toward the dark kitchen door. She imagined stepping through and never returning. The generator coughed and steadied. The room waited. "Tay," she said quietly, "please don't do this." Cunnel threw cash on the table. "Proof of confidence, boys." Ice pin Tay. He stood, smoothed his shirt. "Amara, kneel and say it," he commanded, casual as asking for ice. "No be big thing." Her hands were empty. She felt like fabric stretched too tight on a frame. "I won't," she said, not loudly, only the truth, presented softly like a seam she refused to stitch. The men gasped. Cunnel slapped his thigh. "Ah, Chairman." Tay's smile cracked. "You day refuse me, Amara?" She met his eyes for the first time. Something steady and old looked back. "I am your wife," she said, "not your puppet." The TV could not fill it. Facts stacked in Tay's mind. The bet, the cash, the men measuring him. Pride made its own command. He stepped closer until her perfume touched his breath. "Last chance," he said. Amara did not move. Cunnel grinned. "Pay up time, Oga." "I never lose a bet," Tay said. He shifted. The black belt at his waist gleamed, patient. Amara saw it and understood how the night would twist. "Serve the chops," Tay added, voice suddenly bright. "After that, you go kneel." "I will serve," she said, "but I won't kneel." She turned toward the kitchen. Behind her, chairs scraped. Cunnel's laugh pealed. Tay's chain clicked against his collarbone as he stood, the room tightening around pride and refusal. The match resumed, crowd noise a drumroll. He called her name once, testing whether sound still commanded. She kept walking. The air between them grew thin, brittle. Cunnel tapped the cash, grinning at the others. "Una go witness history tonight." Amara opened the oven and lifted the tray, heat stinging her knuckles, eyes steady. She balanced the food and walked back into the room that had decided to measure her dignity like a bet. Tonight, the second half crawled, groans rolled across the room. Tay stood, paced, sat, stood again, the belt buckle flashing with each turn. His eyes kept finding Amara, who set down plates and withdrew like tide. Pride needed a show. "Amara." His voice snapped the air. She came from the kitchen doorway, hands on a towel. "Yes." "Serve drinks immediately," Tay said, loud enough for the street. "All these men cannot be waiting for you." "They have beer," she said, glancing at the table. "Should I open more?" "Don't ask questions," he said, smile fixed for the audience. "Just move." Cunnel chuckled. Chairman Don into gear. Amara crossed to the table, gathered empties, dropped them in a crate. She reached for a fresh carton. Tay was suddenly beside her, fingers closing over it before she could lift. "Leave that," he said, voice soft. "You know greet my guys well earlier." "I greeted," she said. "Good evening." "Ihen," Cunnel cut in. "Do am well." Amara's jaw set. "Good evening, everyone," she said evenly. "Hope you are enjoying yourselves." "Better," Tay said too brightly. "Now pour." She began to open bottles. The opener slipped. A cap rattled. She bent. A few men sniggered. Tay let the moment hang, then laughed with them. "You see," he told the room. "Small thing. She day fumble." Amara straightened. "The table is crowded. Let me clear space." "Speed," Cunnel shouted. "We day thirsty." Amara's heart beat hard but steady. The night thinned to bright edges, glass, steel, sweat. She moved faster, stacking cups, wiping spillage with a cloth. In the kitchen, the oven ticked. Oil and pepper clung to her hair. Tay stepped close again. "About that kneeling," he said softly enough for only her. "No disgrace me in front of my men." "Tay," she replied under her breath. Respect me in front of them. He blinked, surprised. Then he remembered the money on the table and the eyes on his back. Pour the drinks, he said louder. I'm pouring, she said, bottle tilted. Faster. His hand came down on her wrist to correct the angle, possessive and public. She pulled away, controlled. You're hurting me. Hurting you. He smiled at the others, as if it were a joke. You know Day serious. The room leaned toward the scene. Even the TV seemed to hush. Say whispered Omo. Amara finished pouring and placed bottles within reach. Anything else? She asked, tone flat. Yes, Tay said, turning fully to the audience of friends. Kneel and say the words so my people go no say peace day. Amara stared at the center table, caps, cash, greasy napkins, then raised her eyes and found his. No. The word landed like a shatter. Colonel barked a laugh. Chairman. Tay felt heat rise from his chest to his ears. You day refuse me. I am not a prop, she said. Stop this. Woman, he said, voice dropping lower. Do not push me tonight. She held her ground. Then don't push me. For a moment the room balanced on a thread. A goal shout burst from the TV and died. Tay's fingers drummed the belt buckle once, twice, thrice. He looked around and saw his reflection. Leader, man of the house, champion of control. Enough, he announced. Since you know fit behave, you will learn. Amara saw the decision form and harden. She placed the opener down and set her shoulders. Somewhere a dog barked twice. Nobody moved, and the night pressed closer to their skin like cloth damp. Outside, the generator coughed. Inside, the night decided what it wanted from them. The room held its breath before the first cut. Tay stepped into the space Amara occupied, crowding her until the coffee table pressed against her knees. Kneel. Amara's chin lifted a fraction. No. Colonel whistled. Someone muttered. Ah. Tay smiled, a thin horizontal line. You day shame me, Amara. I'm asking you not to shame yourself, she replied. Let your friends eat and go. He nodded, as if agreeing. Then, with the wrist that had once lifted her veil, he swung. The slap broke the air, undeniable. Glass chimed on the table. A bottle toppled and foamed. The sound reached the corridor. Amara's head snapped sideways and returned slowly, like a bruised mango. Heat raced across her cheek. Her hand rose halfway and stopped, unsure whether to cradle or resist. Silence sat among them. Even the commentary wavered, the crowd sounding far away. No one looked at Amara. Tay breathed through his nose, chest heaving once. You think say I be your mate. Amara blinked tears back into their wells. When she spoke, her voice surprised even her. You are not my enemy, she said. Do not make yourself one. The sentence landed softly and kept falling. Tay's throat worked. He reached for humor and found none waiting. Pride, however, stood beside him, loud as a drum. He grabbed it. Amara steadied her breathing, tasting pepper and salt on her tongue. Her cheek throbbed in pulses. She counted like stitches. Now you go kneel. She did not. He slapped her again, the other cheek. The men flinched like a single organism. Say murmured, Chairman, but did not stand. Don't. Colonel hissed at Say without turning his head. No put mouth. Amara steadied herself against the table. The belt on Tay's waist breathed with him. She saw the stitch line. I will not kneel, she said, and her voice did not break. Tay laughed sharp. You day craze. He lifted his hand a third time. She closed her eyes, but in grief. When her eyes opened, they found the ceiling bulb. She counted to 3 and looked back at Tay. Is this control, she asked, or fear? The question irritated him. You day lecture me. He spat. Respect yourself, she said. He stepped back, snorting. Respect? For who no fit greet? For who go embarrass me? He turned toward his audience, seeking approval. Colonel gave him a thumbs up without smiling. From the corridor came a child's voice. Mummy, what was that sound? The mother shushed him. The generator coughed again. Amara inhaled slow and deep. She reached for a bottle, opened it, and poured, the mundane action stitching the moment together. With her palms flat on the table, she said, I will take the food inside. When you are done, you will sleep. Tay's eyes narrowed. Who'd Day give instruction here? He grabbed her wrist. The room leaned forward. Leave me, she said. Make me, he said. For a heartbeat, they stood like that, the belt glinting like a threat not yet named. Amara's wrist bent. She did not cry out. She said, You are hurting me, and looked at him like a mirror. Something in him recoiled from the reflection. He released her with a little push that made her stumble. The men exhaled as one. Then, stubborn as a habit, the laughter returned, thin, shaky, eager to turn pain into sport. Tay's fingers found the belt tongue and tugged. The buckle clinked, a tiny bell announcing something ugly. He pulled the leather free in one smooth rip and folded it over his palm. The room's center of gravity shifted toward him. Amara did not run. She put the tray of small chops back on the table, wiped her hands on her wrapper, and stood straight. Her cheek darkened. The TV muttered commentary. Colonel raised his cup. Chairman, show leadership, he said. Amara, Tay announced to everyone and no one. Since you understand gentle talk, you go learn the hard way. The belt lifted. Don't do this, she said. He brought it down. The sound cut the room. She flinched, body turning to protect ribs and face. A few men yelped. Someone hissed, pain. Another stripe. Heat bloomed. She staggered into the couch and righted herself with one hand. Breath came short and efficient. Count, pull, release. Chairman, Say blurted, standing an inch and sitting back. Tay's eyes were bright, fevered. The belt made a clean path. Power hummed and hid what it was doing, making him smaller. He heard the men and the part of himself that wanted belief. Say the words, he demanded. Kneel and say them. Amara shook her head. No. He struck again, faster, across the back of her shoulder. The leather found bone. She sucked air but refused sound. Her gaze fixed on the wall clock, suddenly loud. Each tick said, Decide. 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 Colonel tried for humor and missed. Omo, she stubborno. Record someone whispered from the back, a hiss of suggestion that made the room even meaner. Amara's hand spread on the table. She thought of Mama Ife, of the advice she collected like thimbles. Protect the soft parts. Count the breaths. Do not swallow your name. She thought of her shop, of fabrics waiting in neat stacks. She thought of the hinge in Tay's jaw rattling with pride. The belt cracked against her thigh. Still she would not kneel. Tears slid, but they did not carry apology. Enough now, Say said louder. Tay ignored him. Say it. No, she managed, voice shaking but alive. Another strike. Her wrapper loosened. She retied the knot. She looked at Tay and saw a boy wearing a man's clothes, fooled by cheers into forgetting the man he had wanted to be. For a heartbeat, pity crossed her face. It enraged him. He lifted the belt high and delivered a final, showy lash that licked her shoulder and bit the air. Now kneel, he shouted. She swayed, steadied, and did something that confused the room. She smiled, small and tired, as if at a private joke. I will not, she said. Laughter sputtered, then rallied as Colonel clapped twice, forcing cruelty back. Amara stepped backward, away from the belt, away from the table of friends who did not know how to be men. Her eyes were not pleading. They were memorizing. She turned toward the corridor, head high. Tay lowered the belt, but kept it in his hand like a flag. Carry yourself into room, he ordered. Amara took a long breath. I will carry myself where I choose. The belt dangled, the room buzzed. Somewhere outside, a motorbike rattled past the gate. Inside, the night pressed in. Bruises began their slow bloom. In each face she mapped a witness, and in herself she mapped a path out. A decision also began, and this one was hers. The belt hung slack, and the room tried to move on, to pretend the lash had been thunder and not a choice. Colonel reached for a drumstick, bit hard, and said too loudly, A beg, make we enjoy Jer. A nervous chuckle skittered across the couch. At the back, a man Amara barely knew, Kamal with the always charging phone, lifted his camera. The lens blinked awake like a small eye. Memory now memory, he laughed, screen already glowing. Make we keep evidence, say Chairman Day run him house. Say hissed, Guy, stop that thing. But the need to belong cheered Kamal on. He framed Tay. A black belt looped over a fist, jaw tight, chest heaving. He framed Amara, wrapper retied, cheeks burning, eyes refusing to bow. He panned across the men, their worry, their appetite, their fear of saying the right thing too early. Tay saw the phone and straightened, smoothing his shirt as if the lens were a mirror he could command. No wreck at my wife, he snapped, but he didn't move to stop it. Power loved an audience. Kamal laughed again. Keep the camera, Kunal said, clapping the rhythm of mischief. Makey ginger her. Amara looked directly into the lens and let the world see that she was not confused. One day, she said, voice low but clean, you will replay this and taste it. Kamal pretended not to hear. He held up the phone higher. The belt lifted again, but Tay didn't strike. Sit down, Tay ordered finally. Stop standing there like stubborn goat. Amara did not sit. She stepped sideways, collected the empty plates, and carried them toward the kitchen. Each plate a counted breath. Kamal followed her with the camera for 2 seconds, then swung it back to Tay when Kunal tapped his knee and mouthed, faced the chairman. Football shouted from the TV. The room reassembled its mask, jokes, sauces, noise. Beneath it, everything hummed wrong. In the kitchen, Amara set plates in the sink. She pressed a damp cloth to the welt on her shoulder and watched a bead of red rise and fade. Her phone vibrated again, Mama Ife. She didn't pick. She closed her eyes and listened to the house. The cough of the generator, the clink of bottles. In the sitting room, Kamal reviewed the clip. His laughter thinned. Guy see shot, he said, showing Kunal, who watched like a man tasting pepper. Send him, Kunal said, handing it back. Kamal's thumb hovered over Cher. Say grabbed his wrist, eyes finally bright with courage. Delete it. Comrade, Kamal mocked. You day do morals? Delete it. Say repeated, voice low. Tay looked over. When day sup? Nothing, Kunal said quickly, patting the air. Control things. Tay raised the belt one more time and, with theatrical boredom, dropped it on the table like an old snake. Show done finish, he declared. Everybody relax. Amara returned with a fresh bowl of ice. She set it down, met no one's eyes, and retreated again. Only when she reached the corridor did she allow herself a long, slow breath that left her ribs aching. In the back, Kamal chose a private folder instead of the trash. Later, he whispered, pocketing the phone. The tiny camera slept with its secret. The room returned to football. The night pretended to be ordinary, but it had been recorded, and the recording had already started learning the route by which it would travel. In her chest, something settled into place, cold and clear. Names lined up in her mind, times, doors, keys, habits, routes. All for later. When the last bottle kissed the last table ring and the last laugh died, Tay dismissed his friends with that careless sweep of the hand he used to close conversations. Tomorrow we go analyze, he said, meaning the match, not the lash. Kunal clapped his shoulder and left with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. Say lingered near the door, searching Amara's face for permission to say sorry. She gave him nothing. Tay locked the gate and swaggered back, belt looped lazily in one hand. He tapped the buckle against his thigh like a bored drummer. You see weddin' you cause, he said. Amara stood beside the sink, cloth pressed to her shoulder. I caused nothing. You made a choice. He rolled his neck. You stubborn passgoat. If you just kneel small, e for end. She looked at him the way tailors look at cheap thread, measuring how soon it will snap. Your friends left, she said. Go and sleep. You go still cook for me, he answered. The pepper soup is there, she said. Warm it yourself. A spark leaped. He stepped forward, then thought of the neighbor's thin walls. He smirked instead. Tomorrow, greet me properly. Tomorrow, she said. Learn to be a man. He laughed, big and hollow, and moved to the microwave. He didn't meet her eyes. The belt lay on the counter like a decision not yet packed away. Amara rinsed plates, stacked bowls, wiped the table, each action a thread she could hold. In the bathroom, steam rose. She stood under the hiss and watched the day bleed down the drain. When water struck the welts, she bit her cheek and counted to 5. She pressed palm to tile and breathed until the tremor in her knees passed. Her phone lit with missed calls. Mama Ife 3, 4, 5. A message blinked. My daughter, are you safe? Answer me now. Amara typed, I'm here. I will come tomorrow. She sent it. On the bed, Tay sprawled, TV on mute, watching a highlight reel as if it were a mirror. He glanced over when she entered, took inventory of her posture, and nodded to himself like a man who had fixed a leak. Good night, he said. Good night, she answered. She turned away, but not in retreat. She turned away at compass turns to test north. Sleep came in batches. Each time she drifted, a belt cracked somewhere in the dark. Each time she woke, she placed a hand flat against her chest and counted. The generator died near 2. Silence swelled to fill the house. Dogs barked and stopped. On the table, the belt waited like a kept appointment. Before dawn, Amara rose and tied a scarf. In the mirror, 2 cheekbone shadows bloomed. She cupped one briefly. You are blood, she told the reflection. Not proof. In the kitchen, she brewed ginger tea and added honey. She poured a second cup for the woman she would be by noon. When Tay stirred, she had already swept the corridor and watered the hibiscus. He scratched his chest and yawned. Morning, morning, she said. He watched her for mock defiance that didn't come and relaxed. No vex again, he offered. Now play. Her smile was clean as a blade. Noted, she said, and carried the trash out. The sun had not yet burned the night off the rooftops, but something measurable had shifted. A seam opened. She felt in the air like a promise. She exhaled once, slow, and steadied her hands for what comes next. By noon, the ache in Amara's shoulder had turned from fire to throb, hurting less, saying more. She closed the shop early and walked to Mama Ife's bungalow, where mango leaves shaded the veranda. The old woman had already set out a stool and a bowl of water. My daughter, she said, taking Amara's hands. Sit. Amara sat. Tears coated her eyes and held. He flogged me with his belt in front of his friends, she said simply. He wanted me to kneel for a bet. Mama Ife's mouth flattened. A goat will eat palm fronds until it meets pepper. She dipped a cloth, wrung it, dabbed Amara's cheek. You answered him? I said no. Good. The old woman's hands were steady. Now what will you do? The word hung. Do. Amara breathed. I will make every man in that room regret what they did, or did not do. Don't chase all goats with one stick, Mama Ife warned. Some are merely foolish. Your husband is a different case. His pride is a demon he feeds with applause. I know, Amara said. I also know how to starve a demon. They sat quiet. Finally, Mama Ife said, Then begin like a tailor. Measure twice before you cut. Amara nodded. She told the old woman about the gambling talk she'd overheard, the Friday meetings, the way Cunnel bragged about underground odds. Mama Ife listened, eyes narrowed, fingers tapping the rhythm of a loom. You will need bigger eyes, she said. Your own anger will blind you. I will not act alone, Amara said. Good. Pretend peace. Gather thread. Amara left with balm and a list inside her head. She returned home first. She put stew on the fire, folded clean clothes, set the sitting room as if nothing had been broken there but sound. When Tay arrived, she met him at the door with a small smile that told him nothing. He relaxed, misreading quiet for surrender. Correct wife, he said, patting her shoulder lightly where it did not hurt. You sabi when to calm down. Eat first, she replied. At dinner, she asked about business, about his friends, about odds. He boasted. She touched his wrist once, laughed at a safe joke, and gave him her eyes as if they were trust. He grew talkative. After dishes, he sprawled on the couch and dozed. Amara moved through the house like a careful wind. She counted his steps. How long the shower? How many minutes on the phone before he said goodnight to Cunnel? Which jacket pocket the car key liked? She noticed the shoebox under the bed. She noticed the small safe behind shirts and wardrobe. She noticed the spare gate key and the locksmith number saved as Pastor K. Later, in the bathroom, she faced herself again. The woman in the mirror had not gotten smaller. The bruise had. She touched the glass and whispered, "We move." In the dark, beside the man whose breath lifted and fell like a careless tide, Amara laid out her lines. She would learn the routines. She would ask the women who had learned to be quiet how quiet they still wanted to be. She would make calls from places he never noticed. She would smile when it was time to smile. She would save her voice for when it would echo. Decisions settled into her bones like good sleep. When dawn patted in, it found her ready with a small notebook, a working pen, a face the color of peace. Underneath, the promise sharpened, never again. Tonight, the first rule Amara made for herself was silence that sounded like routine. She woke before tea, boiled water, ironed his shirts with deliberate care, and tucked observations into the seams. He preferred the blue Ankara on Fridays, the one with the loose inner pocket, where he slid small notes. He called Cunnel after lunch, never before. He left the house at 8:15 and returned at 7:40, except on days when he said, "Market hold me," and the smell of beer came home first. She began a ledger, a tailor's habit repurposed for war. In it she wrote nothing that would convict her if found, only code she could read. K equals loud, S equals watching, B equals belt, G equals gate key. She mapped the neighborhood too, which security guard slept on duty, which neighbor kept lights on all night, which woman watered flowers at 6 and paused to sigh toward the Bellow house. On Wednesday, she followed Tay, not with her feet, but with phone records she glanced at while he showered. She jotted the last 3 digits of unfamiliar numbers and later, at the market, recited them to Chica, the recharge card seller, who knew every prefix in the district. "That one," Chica said, squinting. "Now betting office line. Those two. Street boys way day run errands for Cunnel." At the salon, Amara said little and listened more. While hair dryers roared, wives unburdened. Men and this their Friday club. One complained, "My own come back with empty pockets." Another rolled her eyes. "Dem day put money together and shout like children. Tomorrow, dem go borrow salt." Amara smiled thinly and tucked the names behind her ear. She asked gentle questions. What time do they usually finish? Who brings the drinks? Who keeps the cash box? No one suspected the questions were hooks. At home, Tay tested her calm like a sore tooth. He made small provocations. "Why stew taste different?" "Who you day chat with?" She answered like water, clear, shapeless. He relaxed into the couch of his old habits. At night, when he slept, she slid the shoebox from under the bed and studied the contents. Folded slips with figures, betting sheets with initials, a scribbled list titled, "Night Contributions." She returned everything exactly as found and started cross-referencing dates with hangover mornings. On Friday afternoon, she told him she would visit Mama Ife on Saturday. "She says she has a wrapper for me." "Go," he said, relieved by proof of normal life. That evening, she watched from the corridor as Cunnel arrived with his laugh, Kamal with his phone, Sei with uncertain eyes. The men settled. The speaker cleared its throat. The belt hung innocently on the back of a chair. Amara moved among them with a tray and noted where they dropped their guard. Cunnel's wallet bulged with slips. Kamal never set his phone down. Sei kept glancing at her as if a story were peeking out of his pocket. At 9:30, she stepped into the backyard and stood by the water tank under the night sky bowl. She dialed no one. She simply memorized how long it took before anyone noticed she was gone. Answer, 12 minutes. When she returned, no one had missed her. Later, she lay in bed and listened to the men singing off-key through the thin wall. She pictured a different chorus, sirens, boots, the clatter of consequences. She synced the picture to reality like aligning patterns on fabric. When sleep came, it found her counting. Not sheep, but doors, keys, minutes, eyes, debts. She was ready now. Sundays had their own quiet usefulness. Church made people tender, and tenderness made tongues looser. After service, Amara helped stack him books, then drifted toward the women's shade tree where wrappers, babies, and complaints formed a circle. She placed her plastic chair and waited. Nkechi started. My husband come home Friday, smelling of ash and pepper, talking big. Money? Zero. Irene sighed. Cunnell's wife told me the same. Those men and their lodge. Every Friday, contribution. But who is helping us with school fees? Someone laughed without joy. I hear they keep the cash in turns. Whoever host, Nahim hold the pot that night. Amara tilted her head, as if hearing a new tune. Is it safe? Men and money are like goats and yam. Safe how? Irene asked. As in police walla if someone report. Amara said softly. Gambling is not exactly choir practice. They sobered. Nkechi leaned closer. You know something? I know men. Amara smiled without showing teeth. And I know we are the ones who pay when they play. Irene's baby stirred. She rocked him. If I had proof, she said, I would lock my door on Friday and sleep. What kind of proof? Amara asked. Recordings, someone said. Lists. Video. Amara felt Kamal's clip warm like a coal in her mind. She had not seen it, but she knew where men stored shame until it became bragging. She visited one by one, borrowing spice, sharing fabric samples, carrying a small cake. In kitchens and courtyards, she asked careful questions. Had they noticed strange cash? Had anyone been to a police station lately? Did Cunnell's wife ever complain to the landlord? Did Say ever mention a side hustle? She listened more than she spoke. She left each compound having sewn one more piece into the quilt. With Say's fiancé, Funmi, she didn't press. Funmi pressed herself. Say came home shaking that night. Funmi whispered. He said, Amara doesn't deserve that. He slept by the door like he was guarding something. Did he mention a video? Amara asked, sipping Zobo. Funmi blinked. Kamal. But Say told him to delete. Did he? Funmi's silence said enough. On Wednesday, Amara carried Akira to the salon and fed the gossip like birds. You hear Say Councilman Bo Don begin vex about illegal betting for our ward, she said lightly. I hear police day sniff. Brows lifted. If police come, everywhere goes scatter, the hairdresser said. Maybe that is what scattering looks like when it is good, Amara replied, rubbing oil into her palm. By Thursday, a current ran under the street. Men spoke softer. Wives watched clocks. The lodge's myth developed hairline cracks. Amara kept her face still and her hands busy. That evening, she met Mama Ife by the mango tree. Your quiet is loud, the old woman said. They will begin to feel it. I am arranging their own mirror, Amara answered. And your husband? He thinks peace means victory. She smiled a little. Let him enjoy it. Mama Ife tied her head scarf tighter. Be sure your anger is not driving. Let wisdom hold the keys. It is, Amara said, thinking of the spare Kite believed was his secret. Next, I will count doors that open to uniforms. Call me before you call them, Mama Ife said. A storm should not surprise the tree that planted it. I will. Somewhere, a small camera waited with story. Somewhere else, men rehearsed their old lines for Friday. Let them practice. She was building the stage. Her timing would be exact. Saturday evening laid a purple shawl over the streets when Amara returned to Mama Ife. The mango tree shook itself in the breeze. A kerosene lantern glowed between them like a small moon. The old woman poured warm water over bitter leaves and said, Drink, then talk. Amara sipped, face tightening at the taste. I am moving, she said. The women are talking. I'm mapping the men. Good, Mama Ife replied. But maps can turn proud. Remember, when you cut cloth, you leave allowance for seams. Amara smiled faintly. I will not sow anger into the hem. N. Revenge is thread, justice is needle. Without both, you only tangle. She tapped Amara's wrist. Tell me the plan, slowly. Amara laid out her notes, the shoebox slips, the Friday schedule, the numbers traced through Chica at the stall. Cunnell keeps the list. Kamal keeps the phone. Say he keeps his conscience. Mama Ife's eyes warmed. Consciences make good doors. Knock carefully. I will, Amara said. I also think the police are already sniffing. I heard the hairdresser mention Councilman Bode's complaints. Police, Mama Ife mused, rolling the word like a bead. They're like knives, useful, dangerous, and they remember who used them. If you call them, be sure your hands are clean and your steps invisible. I will put distance, Amara said. No one must say I carried the thunder. Good girl. And your husband's eyes? Fixed on pride, Amara answered. He thinks my quiet is surrender. Let him keep that thought. Feed it small smiles. Mama Ife leaned closer. But guard your soft places. When men sense a mirror, they smash it. Amara touched the faint bruise on her cheek, now the color of old wine. I am guarding. They sat with the lantern's hum. Somewhere, a goat tested a tin can. Children chased the end of daylight with plastic wheels. Mama Ife said, when the time comes, don't scatter like hot oil. Choose one day, one rope, one knot. One party, Amara murmured, picturing Tay's next Friday, the speaker's bass, the belt pretending to sleep. One knot. A hen. And one ally in uniform, the old woman added. Find the right ear, not the loudest. Amara nodded. How do I know the right one? The man whose anger is not for sale, Mama Ife said. The one who speaks softly when others boast. Her eyes narrowed, remembering something. Ask at the provision store for Adebayo. He once warned me about fake charity boys. He did not ask for money after. Adebayo, Amara repeated. I will look. Not as a beggar, Mama Ife cautioned. As a witness. Tell only what you can prove. Keep the rest in your mouth till proof joins it. They prayed without flourish, a needle-thin prayer that threaded through fear and did not snag. When Amara rose to go, the lantern painted a crown of gold around the old woman's scarf. At the end, Mama Ife said, remember to make room for your own life. Revenge is not a home. I know, Amara said. I am building a door, not a prison. Good. And child, burn the belt last. Not first. Amara smiled properly then. Last, she promised, and stepped into the evening with the plan folded neatly, where hope could reach it without spilling. On the road back, crickets stitched the gutters with song. Amara counted gates, lighted windows, and friendly dogs that never barked at her. By her door she paused, pressed palm to wood, and whispered, keep still, heart. When thunder comes, we will already be standing in the dark. Amara met Inspector Adebayo because a bag of Gary split at the junction, and kindness moved faster than traffic. It was Tuesday, market day, sun like brass. A kiki stopped too close. A boy staggered under a sack. Nylon tore. White crystals rushed toward gutter water. Amara reached first, bracing the sack with both hands. Hold the mouth, she told the boy gently. He did. A voice beside her said, lift together on 3. They did, clean, efficient. The sack settled back onto the barrow. The boy grinned thanks and pushed away. Amara wiped her hands with a tissue and turned to the man. He wore plain clothes, dark jeans, light shirt, but his eyes watched like someone paid to notice. Thank you, she said. You're welcome, he answered. Inspector Adebayo. No swagger, just a name offered like a handshake. Amara, she replied, weighing the name she had come to find. They stood under the shade of a billboard advertising detergent that never faced dirty politics. Adebayo glanced back at the junction, then at her cheekbones' fading shadow. He didn't ask, he observed. You live around here, he said, more statement than question. Yes. Taylor. He nodded at the tape measure peeking from her bag. Yes. He smiled a little. Taylor's noticed straight lines. And crooked ones, she said. Something like respect passed between them. He pointed toward the provision store. Walk. They walked slowly past stacks of crates and sachet water. He spoke first. People think gambling only steals money. It also rents noise, bullies the street, draws knives that were sleeping. Her pulse steadied. You are investigating? He tilted his head. I am listening. I have heard things, Amara said. But I don't bring rumors. Good. He stopped beside a display of biscuits. Bring me times, names, places. Bring me what you can prove if a man swears you are a liar. Bring me the pattern, not the anger. I can do that, she said. There's a gathering on Fridays. Cash moves. Lists exist. He took out a small notebook, weathered at the corners. Who holds the money? Sometimes the host, she answered carefully. Often Colonel Adeyemi. He is the spark. The kind that burns houses, Adebayo said, writing. And your husband? Amara let the word land between them. A man who loves applause. He didn't look at her bruised cheek. I don't arrest applause, he said. I arrest crimes. I understand. She looked at his hands. Clean nails, a scar across the knuckle, steady. If I give you the pattern, what will you do with it? Make a clean cut, he replied. Not a noisy tear. When we move, it will be for keeps. They exchanged numbers. He saved her as Amara Taylor. She saved him as Adebayo Provision. Before they parted, he said, One more thing. If there is a video, men love souvenirs. Don't chase it for shame. Chase it for truth. Her eyes flickered. Understood. And if anything points back to you, step sideways. Be the person who was at home sewing when thunder fell. That is my plan. He nodded once, satisfied. Then we will be useful to each other. He began to walk away, then paused and added, When you choose your day, pick the one pride will gather the loudest. Pride is punctual. Amara thought of the speaker's base, the belt on the chair, the cups, the ledger of insults. Friday, she said. He took 2 fingers in a small salute. Friday, then. She watched him dissolve into the market's tide, a quiet knife among spoons that loved their clatter. Information arrived like fabric from different markets, cheap, fine, patterned, plain, and Amara learned to test each for strength before cutting. She began with Say, the only man whose eyes had flinched during the flogging. She met him behind a pharmacy where the harmattan wind could not eavesdrop. I shouldn't be here, Say said, hands in pockets, guilt lining his voice. But I've been sick since that night. I won't ask you to betray anyone, Amara replied. Only to remember. He nodded. Colonel runs the pot. He keeps a yellow ledger. Cash in, cash out. He does plenty rounding. Where? Sometimes in his backpack, but on party nights, on the table like trophy. He believes fear keeps it safe. And Kamal's phone. Say grimaced. He kept the video. I told him to delete. He said he hid it. On his device. Phone in cloud. Say looked away. I can ask him again, but he will perform. He likes attention. Don't ask, Amara said. Just tell me when he will attend. Always Fridays, Say said. He never misses. Next, she visited Chica at the recharge stall. Those numbers I asked about, Amara said, laying small notes for airtime. Any news? Chica tapped a list. This one calls from a shop behind mechanics, illegal odds. That one. He supplies contraband cigarettes to parties. This other, a runner who brings cash in envelopes. Thank you, Amara said, memorizing the curves of each digit. At home, she examined Tay's shoebox again with gloves of calm. Tucked beneath bedding slips, she found shopping lists that weren't groceries. Disposable cups, 2 packs, codeine, 3 bottles, mint sachets, imported smokes, 10 decks of cards. She photographed them with her old Nokia, the grainy kind no one bothered to search, and copied details into her coded ledger. In the afternoon, she sewed a blouse for Irene while Irene's stories sewed themselves. Last Friday, Irene said. They parked a bike inside the compound with a sack that clinked. I think money. What time? Amara asked, snipping thread. Between 9 and 10, Irene said. I heard Colonel shouting about a big win and new odds. On Thursday night, she stood on her balcony and watched Tay on a phone call, voice lowered, pacing. Yes, host here, he said. Bring the speaker. Bring the cards. No children, please. Last time they cried. He laughed, careless. Later, she made tea and set 1 cup near him. Will your friends come tomorrow? Of course, he said, pleased she asked. Big night. Real men will come. She nodded as if complimented. Then I will make pepper soup. He grinned and tugged her scarf. Now you are talking. After midnight, she drafted a message to Adebayo, then deleted and redrafted until it held only bones. Friday. 8 p.m. host, Tabello. Cash pot on center table. Yellow ledger. Unlicensed cigarettes. Codeine bottles. Runners between 9 to 10. Filmer named Kamal. Backup copies likely. She added the address and pressed send. A minute later, received. Quietly, please. Amara turned off the lamp. In the dark, she rehearsed her role, busy wife, soft smile, nothing to see. Morning would fill with errands, afternoon with cooking, evening with knives hidden in light. She slept 4 steady hours and woke with rhythm in her hands. Before noon, Funmi sent a whisper of her own. Kamal bragged they'll trend if he drops the clip. Amara replied, let him keep pride. I only need his punctuality. Then she closed her phone and ironed the blue ankara Tay loved, pressing each seam flat, like an intention made true by heat. Fabric never lied to her. Amara began the week like a seamstress smoothing stubborn cloth. Small pressure, even heat, patient strokes. She replaced the hard edges of silence with gentle curves. Do you want groundnut in the pepper soup on Friday? She asked Tay on Monday. On Tuesday. Should I invite Say's fiancé to help in the kitchen? On Wednesday, a laugh at a harmless joke that made his shoulders drop. By Thursday, he preened. My wife is back, he announced to the mirror. Sharp babe. Only tidying our house, she said, stepping behind him to fix his collar. Her fingers lingered at the wardrobe where the small safe hid. She slid it closed, then open again a crack, memorizing the rhythm. Your friends like when I cook, she added. Let's make it big. After all, you are host. He loved the word host. It tasted like crown. Yes. Call Kamal to bring extra cups. Call Kunnel to remember the ledger. Last time he forgot odds. He chuckled. And tell them gate will be locked after 9. I don't want street boys joining. Locked after 9. She filed it. Good idea, she said, as if it were his. She messaged Funmi. Please come early tomorrow. Help me in the kitchen. The eyes. Funmi replied with a string of praying hands and a line. Say is afraid for you. Amara typed back. Tell him to be ready to stand still when wind blows. That afternoon, she suggested a small mercy to Tay. Keep the belt in the wardrobe tomorrow, she said, laughing like a woman remembering sweet mischief. Last time, it stayed on the chair like a guest. He barked a pleased laugh. USEF. Okay. He flung the belt into the wardrobe without looking. It fell beside shirts like a snake fooled by nap time. Amara cooked deliberately, letting aromas announce normalcy. She sent a message to Irene. Don't bring your children near our compound tomorrow night. To Chica. If anyone asks, you didn't see me today. To Adebayo. Friday confirmed. Host eager. Gate likely locked after 9. Center table under TV. He replied. Understood. Arrive light. Leave lighter. At dusk, she sat with Tay on the veranda, sharing chin-chin from a small bowl. You were harsh that night, she said, voice soft, not accusing. He exhaled dramatically. Man and performance. I overdid it. Forgive me. Forgiven, she said easily, though the word moved through iron. Let's host well tomorrow. Make them talk about your generosity. He kissed her forehead, drunk on a future applause. I knew I married well. When he slept, she moved lightly. She checked the spare gate key she had discovered, oiled the hinges so locks would close without squeal, rehearsed the path from kitchen to corridor, to front door, to compound gate, counting every step. She placed extra napkins on the table, space cleared where yellow ledger would sit like a fruit waiting to be plucked. Near midnight, Say messaged through Funmi. If anything starts, I will not block you. Amara smiled at the phrasing. Not a promise to act, yet, but a promise to stop pretending. It would do. She lay down beside Tay and listened to the house breathe. In the wardrobe, the belt slept where she had guided it. In the corridor, night pooled like dye in a basin. Tomorrow would take the color she chose. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Pattern hold." Then sleep draped itself over her shoulders like a calm, heavy shawl. Outside, the moon thinned, and crickets rehearsed a chorus fit for an unmasking at midnight. Friday arrived with the swagger of a drummer who knew the beat belonged to him. By evening, the Bello compound wore celebration like fresh ankara. A long extension cord snaked toward the veranda. The Bluetooth speaker coughed bass. The TV flashed pre-match banter. Two coolers sweated in a corner, bellies full of ice. Amara moved through it all with practiced ease. Pepper soup simmered. Suya smoked near the gate. Cups formed pyramids. She wore a wrap of the color of calm river water and a headscarf tied like a quiet flame. Funmi arrived first, dropping her purse in the kitchen and rolling up sleeves. "Eyes open," she whispered. "Ears too," Amara said, handing her a ladle. Tay staged the room, table cleared, chairs arranged in a semicircle, ashtrays placed like small iron moons. "Tonight we enjoy," he proclaimed, his grin wide as power. He wore the blue ankara Amara had pressed, chain glinting. The belt slept in the wardrobe, exactly where it would do no new harm and later testify by absence to an older crime. Colonel blew in with 3 men and a scent of expensive cologne. "Host," he shouted, hugging Tay too hard. He dropped a backpack with theatrical weight. "Ledger inside," he announced. "Today, we play like professionals." He thumped the table and laughed. "Where my chair?" Kamal trailed, phone face up. "Content night," he joked, angling for attention. Say entered quietly, his greeting to Amara soft, his gaze honest for half a second before he hid it in a cup. At 8:30, the pot began to fatten. Kunal slapped Naira notes onto the table, scribbling names in his yellow ledger, tongue tucked between teeth, like a schoolboy focused on sums. "No, I owe you tonight," he said. "Cash or go home." Laughter climbed the walls. Amara served with grace and collected the shape of the scene. The bag under the table with contraband cigarettes, the sachet of mint to hide codeine breath, the deck of cards with thin corners, the runner who arrived on a bike at 9:15 with a parcel wrapped in black nylon, greeted casually by Kunal and waved in like a cousin. She noted the time and brushed past the corridor, where the spare key slept in her pocket. Funmi caught her eye. Amara gave the smallest nod. In the kitchen, she dialed the stove lower, wiped the counter, and counted under her breath to 60. Once, twice, thrice, tasting the minutes for how they would feel later. At 9:40, Tay, high on hosting, clapped loudly. "From now, gate closed," he announced, dangling keys before sliding them into his pocket. Men cheered the idea of exclusivity. Amara smiled and drifted toward the doorway. Outside, the compound moon smiled thinly back. She made a final circuit, refilling ice, topping bowls, clearing an empty bottle, and let her hand rest, just once, on the yellow ledger. Colonel didn't notice. He was calculating odds for a latecomer who swore his luck had been fasting and praying. Say leaned toward her as she passed. "Are you safe?" he murmured. "I am precise," she answered. He nodded and faced the screen. By 10, the speaker had found its loudest self. Laughter spilled onto the street. A neighbor shut her shutters, resigned. In the bedroom, behind shirts, the belt slept like a coiled memory. In the sitting room, pride gathered and grew fat, punctual as Adebayo had promised. Amara washed her hands, dried them, and stepped into the corridor that led to the gate. The night inhaled with her. The pattern held. It was time to pull a thread. At 10:20, the party was a storm that thought itself weather. Bass thumped. Voices climbed the ladder of alcohol. Amara slid between laughter and smoke, hands busy, eyes clear. She set a bowl of ice by Kunal's elbow, let the yellow ledger brush her knuckles, then drifted to the kitchen. Funmi followed, pretending to fetch spoons. "It's noisy enough to hide a choir," she murmured. "Good," Amara said, tying her wrapper tighter. She glanced at the corridor clock. 3 minutes. For what? To vanish and be remembered in the kitchen. Funmi's brows lifted, then lowered in understanding. "Go. I'll rattle plates." Amara washed her hands, dried them, and carried 2 empty bottles into the corridor like a woman on her way to the bin. At the door, she paused, listening for Tay's voice. Hi, triumphant, then stepped into the night. The compound air was cooler. She crossed the veranda to the hibiscus shadow and dialed. The line clicked. Adebayo. Now, she said. Center table under TV. Yellow ledger open. Contraband in black nylon under left chair. Gate locked from inside by host, but a side latch can take a second padlock. 10 minutes. Are you inside the compound? Yes. Can you step out unseen? Yes. She touched the spare key warm against her thigh. And locked back. Do it. We are 2 streets away. Stay water. She ended the call and breathed. The bass shook the windows. Her heartbeat kept its own time. She walked to the bin by the gate and dropped the bottles, with a clatter that could explain her walk if anyone looked. No one did. She memorized the final details, the runner's bike near the fence, the patch of shadow where uniforms could pool, and returned to the kitchen. Funmi was clattering like a praise singer. Ah, this suya. Men will lick their fingers. Amara smiled. Carry this tray, she said. I'll fetch more bowls from the store. She used the storeroom, route that kissed the back door. In the dark, she found a small bag she had prepared. A cheap padlock, a short chain, a sachet of powdered milk for innocence if challenged, and slid it into her pocket. The chain coiled like a thin secret. She returned to the sitting room, with lightness that was not joy. Tay raised his cup. Wife, another round. Coming, she sang, and the men cheered a hospitality they mistook for loyalty. She poured fast, smiled twice, let her shoulder brush Tay's, then moved again, the way wind moves through a house that doesn't believe in weather. At the kitchen door, she caught Funmi's eye and gave a nod. Funmi banged a pot and hollered, Amara, where's the pepper? The question was so ordinary it became cover. No one counted the seconds Amara disappeared a second time. In the corridor shadow, she pressed the spare key into the gate's inner lock and turned. The metal agreed without a squeal. She slipped through, pulled the gate to, and looped the chain outside through the latch, clicking the padlock shut. Now the gate wore 2 truths, unlocked within by Tay's key, and locked without by hers. She brushed dust from her palms and circled back through the side walkway, where a broken block made a step to the back door. Inside, she washed her hands and lifted a fresh bowl of ice. The kitchen smelled of pepper and inevitability. She exhaled, steady now. In the sitting room, the ledger fattened. Colonel shouted odds. Tay announced himself the sun. The storm continued, unaware a clock elsewhere had started a sharper count. The gate now wore Amara's small truth on the outside and Tay's big performance on the inside. The party rolled, odds, boasts, clinks. Amara re-entered the stream with the look of a woman whose night was only plates and ice. Planting needed gentleness. She tidied first. Make space, she said, sliding bottles aside. Her fingers found the black nylon under the left chair, exactly where she had told Adebayo. She set it under the lip of the center table, half visible, as careless men do with contraband when they feel safe. Colonel waved her off. Allow us. Of course, she said, moving to the TV stand. She straightened remotes, then shifted the yellow ledger toward the center, opening it to a fat page, as if checking a stain. Columns of names and figures lay like tracks. Tay slapped the table. The ledger flapped, now obvious. Cash swelled in a plastic bowl. Amara tapped the rim. Let me put this where it won't spill. No one objected. She set it squarely by the ledger, a photograph waiting for a camera. Passing Kamal with a tray, she accidentally nudged his elbow. His phone tilted. A grid of folders flashed. Friday Best Special. Her face stayed calm. Sorry. No walla. He grinned, angling it away. In the kitchen, Funmi whispered, Done? Almost, Amara said, lifting 2 codeine bottles from a brown bag she'd found in Tay's shoebox. One here, one there. She tucked one into an ashtray's mouth, the other beside mint sachets. To an untrained eye, nothing changed. To a trained one, everything stood up. She returned and dropped the volume a notch. Tay saw devotion, not design, and kept dealing. At 10:50, the runner's bike coughed at the fence. Gate, someone called. I'm there, Amara said, stepping to the corridor. Who's that? Abdul. Parcel. Wait, small. She slid the inner bolt. The gate shifted but did not open. Her outer padlock held. Key jam, she called cheerfully. Host is coming. She rattled bars for theater. Tay arrived, keys jangling. He tried. Nothing. He frowned, tried again. What is this? Maybe the hinge, she suggested. The chain outside sang its private song. Abdul, go round back. Tay snapped. We'll open later. The bike rolled away. Amara returned with a shrug. She topped Say's cup and, passing, teased the contraband nylon farther into view. Say's eyes flicked, then cooled. He understood. Funmi appeared with fish and deliberately let one piece slide. Laughter bent heads. Hands moved. Amara used a second to nudge the ledger wider. The room reassembled. 10:58 blinked on the clock. Street quiet thickened. Uniforms were near. She checked the back door. Unlatched for her, if panic flooded. She touched the wall with the back of her hand and stepped into the light again. Tay lifted his cup and toasted himself. Cunnel rattled odds. Kamal's phone glowed. The bowl of notes and ledger sat like a still life. The gate held both truths. The lock-in was complete. The evidence smiled for its picture. She drifted to the TV console again, wiped a ring, and positioned a box of cigarettes label out. She slid the deck of cards beside it, fan 3 on the table. The bowl of notes gleamed. She rotated it so the banded bundles faced the room. From the corridor, a neighbor's window slapped shut, resignation, not concern. In that sound she heard the line women cross, when noise becomes law. Not tonight, she promised. Tonight the law would wear boots. She moved again past Kamal. Battery low, she teased. He laughed and plugged a power bank, keeping the phone alive. The first sign was not sirens. It was the street becoming suddenly attentive, as if a teacher had entered the classroom. The bass kept thumping. The men kept laughing. Amara, by the kitchen door, felt the air lean toward order. A fist hit the gate. 3 discipline knocks. A voice, clear and official. Police. Open. The room stalled. Tay grinned, mishearing. Another knock, harder. The grin slid. Who is that? Cunnel barked, already hiding his wallet. Police. The word pushed through metal. Kamal's phone lifted, then lowered. Tay strode toward the corridor with the keys, like a talisman. Amara drifted behind him, close enough to see his hand shake. At the gate, he slid the inner bolt, turned the key, pulled. Nothing. Open, the voice commanded. It's stuck, he shouted, rattling. He threw a glare at Amara. She kept her face meek and her mind counting. Cunnel appeared with a yellow ledger, clutched to his chest. Move back, the voice outside said. On 3 we breach. Boots shuffled. A neighbor whispered. Jesus. 1, the voice said. 2. Wait. Tay yelped, panic-cracking polish. He yanked again. The gate resisted like a stubborn seam. 3. Metal screamed. The outside padlock gave under a cutter. The gate burst inward. Uniforms poured through, Adebayo among them, plain at the edge, eyes cool. Good evening, gentlemen, a senior officer said. Permit, please. Men scattered to hide. Cards slid under cushions. Cigarettes hopped into shoes. The cash bowl drifted under the table and stopped at Adebayo's boot. He towed it back into the light. There it is, he said. An officer pointed at the ledger. What's that? Cunnel tried a grin. Prayer book. The officer opened to the fat page and raised a brow. These prayers count in Naira. Everyone sit, the senior ordered. Phones on the table. Hands visible. Chairs scraped. The speaker died when an officer unplugged it with an expert pinch. Kamal hesitated with his phone. A constable lifted it gently. Password. It's private, Kamal bleated. Tonight, privacy wears uniform, Adebayo said. Kamal unlocked. The constable glanced and slipped the phone into an evidence bag. Tay puffed up. Officer, this is harassment. We are friends enjoying football. Friends who keep ledgers and cash pots, the senior said. He pointed at the ashtray. And codeine. Another officer lifted the nylon. Imported cigarettes. He gestured at the parcel by the fence. Unregistered supply. Tay searched the room for laughter. It did not come. Adebayo spoke to an officer. Seal exits. Photograph the scene. He glanced once at Amara and then away. So brief it could have been a blink. Say's eyes found Amara. She tilted her chin a millimeter. Stand still. He did. The senior recited rights. Cuffs clicked like small verdicts. A young officer photographed the table. Ledger, bowl, cards, cigarettes, bottles. Wide, medium, close. Tay tried a last narrative. My wife can tell you. Your wife will be interviewed separately, Adebayo said. For now, hands. The bracelets closed. Outside, bulbs blinked on up and down the street. Amara set a stack of cups straight that did not need straightening and let her hand stop. The raid had arrived on time, and she was standing in the dark exactly where she planned. Officers moved with tidy habit. Pockets turned out, knives placed on the TV stand, receipts gathered. One lifted a bottle, sniffed, photographed its label. Another flipped the ledger to earlier pages and matched figures with bundles in the bowl. Kamal's folders flashed as the constable cataloged. Friday best special. Adebayo's pen made steady notes that hold when shouting fades. The compound that had practiced ignoring now lined up to watch. Veranda bulbs clicked on like eyes. Doors cracked. Children pressed cheeks to railings until mothers tugged them back, with whispers equal parts fear and relief. Move, the senior officer said, and the men obeyed. They came out in a file that looked nothing like champions. Colonel first, jokes gone, face pale, the yellow ledger in an evidence bag at his shoulder. Kamal next, cuffed, mouth restless, glancing at the phone now tagged. Say without protest, jaw set, when his eyes met Funmi's. She nodded and held her ground by the gate. Tay emerged last, chin high, chain bright against the blue ankara Amara had ironed. He tried a smile. It faltered under the weight of metal. He searched for Amara and found her by the veranda pillar, wrapper neat, face unreadable. Amara, he called harshly. Tell them this nonsense must stop. She did not move. Adebayo stepped between them, simply inserting the state where drama wanted to grow. Madam will speak at the station if needed, he said. With respect, officer. Tay told the neighbors. This is a misunderstanding. We are respectable men. Respectable men don't bolt gates and keep ledgers, a woman 2 houses down said. Agreement rippled. The officers arranged the arrested along the driveway. Photographs were taken. Evidence bags held. Bowl of cash, imported cigarettes, codeine bottles, a deck of cards softened by many hands. Colonel tried one last flare. I know people, he warned. You will call a lawyer, the senior said. Start there. Say asked, may I give my fiancée my house key? Permission granted. He handed it to Funmi through the bars. She took it, met his eyes, and tucked it into her purse. The simple exchange steadied the air. Kamal whispered to Tay, should I talk? The constable said, not to me. Kamal swallowed. Adebayo walked the perimeter, calm. He stopped once near Amara, but didn't address her. Neighbors watched her instead, searching for gloat. She allowed none. She was as still as furniture that had seen a house built and emptied. When they moved the men toward the truck, Tay tried again. Amara, come with me. Don't let them disgrace your husband. She lifted her head a fraction. Carry yourself, she said, repeating his command from the night of the belt. The words folded the past onto the present. A murmur ran through the crowd. Stories, long trapped, began to breathe. Someone whispered, that night? Another said, I heard shouting. A neighbor called, Inspector, thank you. Not a chorus, but enough to mark a shift. As the truck door clanged, the Bluetooth speaker inside tried to wake and failed. The compound exhaled. Amara stepped from the pillar and picked up 2 abandoned cups, because even when thunder comes, dishes remain. She stacked them and set them by the sink. Madam, an officer said politely, the station will take statements tomorrow morning. I will be there, she answered. At the gate, Adebayo said, lock properly tonight. Voice neutral. I will, she said, and allowed herself a single long breath that reached the bottom of her lungs. Tires crushed gravel. The street swallowed the convoy and left a hush that wasn't empty. A room ready for new furniture now. At the far end of the fence, Mama Beezy folded her arms. "Egad make boys learn." A mechanic nodded. "Dem think Friday not country." A man in a singlet muttered about sleep and fines, but he kept watching. The street that had been a stage became a classroom now. Morning arrived with pale harmattan light. The Bello compound felt lighter and messier. Chairs askew, cups stacked, air full of last night's echo. Amara brewed tea and waited for what follows thunder. Explanation, accusation, silence. At 8, Funmi's message buzzed. "Have you seen status today?" Amara, "No." "Then should I?" Funmi sent a screenshot. Neighborhood blog. Friday lodge raided. Cash, drugs seized. Beneath it, a still of Tay's sitting room. Center table, ledger, bowl. Then another. A WhatsApp status with a play icon and a caption that made the tea bitter. Same house, earlier. See why pride fall. Amara source? Funmi, Kamal's cloud. Or a friend he sent to last week. Someone posted after seeing the arrest. Irene pinged. "Is this you?" The clip had begun its pilgrimage, hopping phone to phone like a truth with legs. Amara pressed play. The lens jittered, then steadied on Tay, belt looped over fist. It cut to her, cheeks bright with pain, wrapper retied, eyes refusing. Laughter roofed the scene. Kamal wheezed. Kunnel's voice cheered. "Say's guy, stop, live there too," small but audible. The belt cracked. Amara flinched on the screen. In the kitchen, she did not. She watched once, then again, not as a victim checking a wound, but as a builder checking a beam. The video was clear, dated by the TV score and the Friday shirt. Captions multiplied. Host who beats wife raided for illegal betting. Pride before cuffs. She said no. Strangers wrote takes. Some urged caution, most poured scorn. A few men wrote, "Not all of us." Wives posted only eyes and fire emojis. In groups where women traded stew tips, links moved faster than recipes. The noise swelled anyway. Neighbors forwarded it to cousins, cousins to colleagues. By noon it was everywhere in our city. By 10, Adebayo called. "You've seen it," he said. "I have." "It's not from us," he added. "We will charge on what we seized, but the street will shout today." "I understand," she said. "I'll give my statement at noon." "Do. Keep your steps measured." After the call, Mama Ife arrived with balm and presents. "She Saturday, the wind is loud." "It is. Do you want it quieter?" Amara thought about erasing and decided against fleeing truth. "No." "Good," the old woman said. "When the world faces a thing, sometimes it dies faster." By noon, Tay's sisters called from 3 cities, anger braided with disbelief. "What have you done?" one demanded. "What did he do?" Amara replied, "I will speak at the station. You may come." At the station, fluorescent lights hummed. Adebayo nodded once. Tay sat across the room, eyes hollowed by a night in a cell and a morning on 1,000 screens. He tried to stand. A constable's hand kept him seated. "Amara," Tay said, voice ragged. "Please, tell them." "I will tell the truth," she said, and walked to the desk. Her statement was simple. Times, names, what she saw, what she refused to do. No adjectives. When the officer asked if she wanted to add anything, she said, "Yes." Record that many men watched and did nothing. "Noted," he said. Outside, the sun climbed higher. A woman she barely knew pressed her hand and whispered, "Thank you." Not for the video, for the door had opened. The day had chosen its headline without her. She chose her next task, and went home to mend a torn seam someone would need for Sunday. Hand sure, mind clear, the storm's noise now useful wind in her sails. By late afternoon the city had decided what to do with Taybello. Point, whisper, step aside. The clip moved like harmattan dust, everywhere at once. Mechanics watched it between oil changes. Hairdressers watched it while trimming ends. Mothers watched it and tightened their wrappers, quiet and fierce. At the market, Chica waved Amara forward with unusual formality. "Madam Amara," she said, setting a cold sachet water on the counter. "On the house. I didn't do anything special." Amara replied. You held your name, Chica said. In this town, that is special. On their street, men who had once slapped backs now watched their words. A neighbor who loved his radio turned it down when Amara passed. Children stared and then remembered manners. Good afternoon, Auntie. Eyes full of questions their parents would answer later. At Mama Beezy's kiosk, two customers argued about blame. Why film? One asked. Are we not all guilty then? Guilty is who lifts belt, the other replied. Camera just remembers. Amara bought salt and matches. She did not add opinions to the pile. She preserved her energy for the station, the bail hearings, the quiet hours afterward when noise sulks and truth continues walking. Fummy sent updates. Say's office asked if he needs counseling. He said yes. Good, Amara texted. By evening, church groups had written statements about dignity in the home. Uncles called with advice that sounded like warnings. Forgive quietly. Men are fragile. A ringtone somewhere played the clip's audio. Belt crack, laughter, her no. Looping until someone hushed it. Tay's sisters arrived at the compound, faces tight with embarrassment that kept breaking into tears. The older one, Yinka, met Amara at the veranda. He is our brother, she said, but we saw it. Her eyes were red. We're sorry. Amara nodded. Thank you for saying so. She did not reach for drama. She offered tea. Inside, Yinka sat and held the cup like a warm decision. We begged our mother not to call you names, she confessed. She is hurt. She blames you for the arrest. I did not put a ledger on the table, Amara said. I know. Yinka swallowed. If you leave him, we will not fight you. I am not writing the ending today, Amara replied. Today I am removing noise from the middle. Across town, a community leader tagged Adebayo in a long post praising swift action. Below it, anonymous accounts defended men's clubs. The argument exhausted itself by sunset. At the station gate, reporters waited where they never used to. Adebayo kept them at the curb, jaw set, statements exact. Charges will be announced, he said. We do not prosecute gossip. When Amara returned home, Mama Ife had swept the compound as if gathering old breath. The wind is changing, she said. I hear it, Amara answered. That night, a single text arrived from an unknown number. You think you are powerful now. She didn't reply. She took a photo of the number and forwarded it to Adebayo. He responded with a period, acknowledged, understood. Before sleep, Amara stood at the wardrobe. The belt lay where it had slept since Thursday, quiet as a snake dreaming of the field. She closed the door gently. Last, she murmured, remembering. The street dogs barked once, twice, then settled. The backlash had found its level. Now came the small, deliberate steps that outlived noise. Court dates, receipts, a shop reopened at 8. Stitches straight as a line across new cloth. She set her alarm for dawn, ironed a blouse, and chose quiet strength over spectacle again for tomorrow's work. The station smelled of disinfectant and paper. Visiting hours folded the city into 2 lines, those bringing food and those bringing words. Amara came with both, a flask of rice and stew, and a sentence she had practiced until it no longer shook. Adebayo met her at the desk. 15 minutes, he said. No touching through the bars. We record. I intend to, she replied. He led her down the corridor. Men cleared their throats to be counted. Tay stood when he saw her. Chain gone, dignity patched with defiance. The blue ankara was rumpled, the gold chain absent. He gripped the bars and tried a smile that used to open doors. Amara, he said, voice made small by echo. You came. I said I would speak the truth, she answered. This is part of it. He searched her face for a seam to pull. They set me up. Tell them. I watched you set yourself up, she said. Tell yourself. He rallied. I am your husband. You are the man I married, she said, and a stranger who lifted a belt. 2 cells down, Colonel cursed softly. Kamal muttered about lawyers. Say sat on a bench with his head in his hands, then looked up and gave Amara the briefest nod. Tay tried charm. They've embarrassed me enough. Bail me. We settle at home. I will apologize. Your apology is late, she said, and not addressed to me alone. He laughed without humor. You want me to kneel for the street? I want you to meet the consequences you invited, she said. This stew is for you. She passed the flask to the constable, who checked it and slid it in. Tay stared at it as if it contained an answer he could swallow. Amara, please, he said softer. You know me. I know two of you, she replied. I have met both. If I had not drunk. You drank pride first, she said. They are calling me names. My sisters cry. My mother is sick. Do you want me to die here? I want you to live where consequences are real, she said. If that is here for a time, then here. Adebayo glanced at the clock. Think of our name, Tay pressed. The shop. Customers will laugh. My shop will stand on better ground than your Friday lodge, she said. I will reopen. I will thrive. He sagged, then blazed. You called the police. I called myself a person, she said. The police answered duty. Silence hummed. Say you forgive me, he said. Say it, and I will change. I forgive the part of you that can learn, she said. The other part must sit down. So you will help me? I will not stand in the way of justice, she replied. I will not lie for you. I will not plead for less. I will speak true. That is my help. The constable tapped the rail. 2 minutes. Amara, tell me we still. She did not answer that old question. She gave him one gift, clarity. When next you are a husband, be one. Time, Adebayo said. Amara looked at Tay and saw no monster, only a man entering a room he had refused to name. She nodded once, a farewell to a version of a life, then turned and walked back down the corridor. The recording light clicked off. Ahead, daylight waited with its honest weight. Outside, she bought oranges from a hawker, paid in full, and realized she had stopped bargaining with herself. The price of peace was set. They let Amara see him again on Tuesday. She did not bring stew. She brought the same sentence, sharper now. I will not carry what is yours. Tay stood. Nights had thinned him. Amara, he began, voice low. I have thought. So have I, she said. He gripped the bars. I never wanted to hurt you. That night, Cunnel, the bet, my head scattered. I forgot myself. You remembered yourself too well, she replied. The part that enjoys an audience. I have ended the lodge, he said. When I come out, I will call the men and close it. You are not out, she said, and the lodge is closing because the state closed it. Help me, Amara. Speak for me. Tell them I am not dangerous. Tell them I am foolish. The court will decide what to call you, she said. I will tell the truth. That is all. Do you hate me? No, she surprised them both with the ease of it. Hate is heavy. I am traveling light. You used to defend me. I used to protect myself by protecting you, she said. It did not work. From the next cell, Cunnel spat. Woman, you think this ends us? Watch. An officer rapped his bars. Cunnel, shut up. If you do this, people will think you are cruel. Tay said. I am exact, she said. I pay the rent. The shop rent too. If I stay here, how? I will pay my rent, she said, and find better terms. What of us, he asked. Do we still have a house? Amara considered like a tailor facing stained cloth. We have walls, she said. Whether it is a home will depend on what you do when no one is clapping. I will change. Change is a verb with receipts, she replied. Collect them. At least say, I am with you. I am with the truth, she said. You may join me there. So you will leave me? I will leave the parts of you that refuse truth, she said. If the rest of you wants to live, it knows the address. You speak like cold water. I am water, she said. You can drink and live, or pour me out in thirst. An officer announced time. Amara nodded and turned. Amara, say something kind. Tay called. She searched and found a small kindness. Eat, sleep, tell the whole truth, not the edited one. It will save you. Outside, she met Funmi with a bag of clothes. He asked for these, Funmi said. He also asked if I can forgive him for doing nothing sooner. Can you? Amara asked. I'm learning, Funmi said. The word is bones now. They walked to the junction where life refused to pause. Hawkers shouting, buses hissing, sky wide and ordinary. Amara bought thread and needles, the cheap kind that rusted quickly. She would still sew with them until better ones arrived. Work was waiting, life was waiting, and her reply, cold and exact, kept her path clear. Adebayo waited by the doorway, giving her space. As they walked out, he said, Tomorrow, facts only. She agreed. Outside, a woman in a faded wrapper pressed a pack of biscuits into Amara's hand and whispered, For strength. Amara shared it with Funmi under the mango, eating in small bites that did not disturb the hush. Motorcycles coughed, buses hissed, vendors called prices. Nothing in the sky changed because a man learned shame. That, she realized, was the gift. Life kept moving. She could move with it, choosing where to place her step. On Monday, Amara flipped a sign on her shop from closed to open and stood for a second with her hand on the glass, feeling the hinge resolve. Sunlight made a bright rectangle on the cutting table. She placed her tape around her neck and went to work. The first customer was Irene with a faded wrapper and a new posture. Can you turn this into something I will want to wear? She asked. Yes, Amara said, and meant more than fabric. She measured, pinned, chalked. The machine's needle found its rhythm and taught her breathing to match. Between stitches, messages pinged. Fittings, choir sashes, school uniforms. Work did what it does when truth clears a field it grew. At noon, Chica arrived with Zobo. Grand opening gift, she grinned. And gossip. Councilman Bode says the ward will enforce noise rules. Good, Amara said. May we all sleep. She priced new cloth, careful not to punish customers for Tay's debt. She set up a small tin-labeled shop repairs and fed it the first notes of the day. She texted the landlord and negotiated an extension without begging. She examined the old signboard and imagined a brighter one with cleaner letters. Around 3, a girl of 12 hovered at the door. Auntie Amara, she said shyly. My mother says thank you. She placed a drawing on the table, a woman standing, a belt on the floor, a sun in the corner. Amara swallowed. Tell her I say thank you too, she said, and slipped the drawing into a sleeve. By evening, orders hung on a line like flags. Amara swept, locked the till, and wrote a short list in her ledger. Pick up thread, change bulb, call Mama Ife, price new mannequin. She closed the book and sat on the stool where she had once cried. Today she did not. On the street, the Friday Lodge boys had no meeting to prepare for. Cunnell's wife walked past with a chin that finally understood itself. Funmi texted a picture of Sei reading a pamphlet on bystander courage. He said he's late, she wrote, but he is arriving. At home, Amara cooked okra and sent a portion to Yinka. The older woman came over with a bag of beans and a tired apology. I shouted at you on the phone, Yinka said. It was grief and pride fighting each other. They fight in many houses, Amara replied. Come in. They shelled beans and talked about ordinary things, school fees, a neighbor's new baby, the price of gas. Somewhere during the pile, Yinka said, If you decide to leave, take bed sheets. He too can start again. It wasn't a strategy. It was surrender to truth. Amara nodded. Later, she called Mama Ife. I opened, she said. I thought the sun looked industrious, the old woman replied. How did the day treat you? It worked, Amara said. Then treat it back. Rest, Mama Ife advised. Tomorrow cut fresh. Before sleep, Amara cleaned the mirror. 2 faint shadows lingered on her cheeks, fading like old rumors. She set out fabric for morning, a bright wax print called Sunrise Road. In the wardrobe, the belt lay where it waited for its appointment with fire. Not yet, she told it. Last. She turned off the light and let a new, quiet life put its small hands around the room. Outside, night did what it always does, it kept. Inside, she kept her name, her work, her pace. She slept like a seam unbroken, ready for morning's cut and careful stitch once more. The evening she chose was windless and clear. Amara swept the veranda, rinsed a metal basin, and set it in the yard. She stacked small sticks and lit them. Flame rose, neat and blue at the base. Yinka brought a stool and sat without questions. Funmi arrived with groundnuts. Mama Ife came last, shawl on her shoulders, lantern in hand. "If it is tonight," she said, "let it be tonight." "It is," Amara answered. They made no speeches. The fire settled. Amara went inside and returned with the belt. It looked smaller in her palm than it had that night. She lowered it into the flame. Leather curled. Metal darkened. A smell rose, bitter as an old lie. The women watched without flinching. Yinka exhaled. "I will not beg you to stay," she said quietly. "If you leave, I will help you carry your things." "Thank you," Amara replied. Funmi cracked a nut and passed half. "Sei says he is no longer late. He is learning to arrive." "Good," Amara said. Mama Ife nodded. "Belts burn slower than cloth, but they burn." Tay's footsteps approached. He paused at the gate, saw the fire, and stopped. He walked closer, hands open. "What is this?" he asked. "An ending," Amara said. He looked at the belt and nodded. "I came to say sorry," he said. "For the night, for my friends, for myself." No one rescued him from the work of his words. "I was raised to think a man is noise," he said. "Now I am learning a man is service. I do not know if I will be good at it." "Learn," Mama Ife said. "If you want me to leave tomorrow, I will leave," he continued. "If you want me to wait outside, I will wait. I will pay for what I broke. I will not touch you without invitation. I will not seek pity on the street. I will not say you set me up. I will say I set myself up." "What do you want from me?" Amara asked. "Only the chance to tell the whole truth every day," he said, "and a place to send money for what I owe." "Send it to the landlord in the shop," she said. "Not through me." He nodded. "Yes." Silence made a clean space. The belt collapsed into a dark flower. Yinka wiped her eyes and blamed smoke. Amara stood. "Tay," she said. He straightened. "Now you know how it feels to be powerless." "I do," he said. She added the line that would guide her. "I choose power that serves, not power that shows. If we ever share a house again, it will be because your receipts match your promises." "I will collect them," he said. She believed it only as far as paper carries ink. The rest was his. The fire thinned. Amara covered the basin, smothering the last ember. Smoke rose and unwound into night. She turned to the women. "Thank you," she said. "To Tay. Good night." He bowed his head and left the gate the way a student leaves a classroom, quiet, if not yet wise. Amara washed her hands, dried them, and locked the house. In the wardrobe, there was room where a belt used to be. She placed a new sign there in her mind, vacancy, for better habits only. Then she slept, and her sleep was a straight seam from edge to edge. Outside, the hibiscus nodded in the dark, and somewhere a radio softened. The night agreed. This chapter ended. The next would open soon. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please like, comment, and share. Also turn on the bell to get more of our videos. See you in the next story.